Welcome to West Coast Cast, and I have to say I'm very excited for our guest today. I want to thank you as an audience, but I'm introducing Stephanie Lawson from the Storehouse, and she's the executive director here in our Storehouse in Covington, but it's so much more than just a place to receive food. People just receive so much more, and we kind of go back a ways, don't we?
Oh my gosh, yeah. About 11 years, I think we figured out. Yeah, and I think people don't know the Storehouse is a food bank, and that's what we do. And we're taking care of people in our community, and it's really important, really
Wow.
important work. And it's my heart to do this. I love being there, I love being part of it.
Wow. Maybe you can share a little bit more about your background.
Yeah, I was in, man, I've been in sales my whole life, and I was in real estate for a while. But I started, giving back to the Storehouse when my kids were in scouts, but I needed a food bank at one time in my life. And so I started volunteering at food banks when my son, with a carrier in the front and a kid next to me, and we were handing out food. But we started giving back as volunteers when they were old enough to be in scouts, and they do scouting for food, and we started then, and we started giving back. I have pictures of my kids bringing food to the Storehouse when they were 5 and 6 years old. So it's been a long journey to get there, but it's a full circle of just full of love, full of love.
Wow. What a praise that you are part of this community, such a piece of the heart of this community. And I actually began a project because you asked me to,
Yeah.
and that was a children's program called Real Kids Learning here in our city, which is the largest children's program in our city, and it's a state licensed program, DCYF. And but because you called me and you said, Rod, you need to do something.
There was a need. There was a big need. I think our youth are so important, and having real kids come up when another faith based program shut down was what the city needed. And I see the growth that is just so powerful for our city. And it gives these kids the opportunity to learn how to live by their heart, how to live by love. And I love that so much.
It's funny because there's still lots of opportunity to serve the community. And I want to say you're also a Rotarian.
I am. I'm a Rotarian. I really enjoy that as well. I'm actually the incoming president, and they're having their auction on Saturday. So if anybody wants to come, we still have tickets. But they're going to be supporting the Storehouse too. They're supporting the Backpack Buddy
Wow.
program, which again goes back to the kids, right? We're
Back
supporting.
to school,
Yeah,
back to school districts.
yeah. The districts are, we have a lot of students in our area that are receiving, like 250 students in the Covington area that receive a weekend bag of food.
Wow. So you have really done a lot for this community, and I would say now being the executive director of the Storehouse, it is probably our premier resource in this community to help people both from homelessness to food insecurities, which we'll talk about some more. And but it is one of the best programs in this community, and you knew the founder of it as well, and maybe you want to speak to that, the
Oh, yeah.
history of the food bank.
Yes, Meg Holland and her husband. They ran the church that was there previously, and she saw a need, and she said, "We got to do something." And their first delivery was in 1999, and back then they delivered boxes of food because they didn't have a huge need at the time that they knew about. 11 boxes was the first one. They gave out 11 boxes that first time, and within a year they were doing 77 boxes. And Meg saw the need in the community, and she wanted to fill that need, and she saw that Covington was starting to need more than they originally thought they would. And I've one of the volunteers that has been there since day one. His name is Ron. He says we stood in front of those boxes, put our hands on our hips. So what do we do? And they figured it out. And that's one of the things I think they came to where people were versus let me do what somebody else is doing. And that I think makes a difference.
Wow. You're really one of those people that model the label service above self, and you've really done so much for this community. Food and the lack of food isn't always about an empty cupboard, is it?
No, there's as someone who's been in that position, it's not about an empty cupboard. It's about skipping a meal, deciding to skip a meal because your kids need food. It's about making sure that, like, should I pay rent or should I get food for my family? There's so many things that go on, and I mean, we in the Covington area, there's a perception that people think food banks only serve homeless people. We're serving the working poor. We're serving the people that are at Fred Meyer, just checking your groceries out. We're serving the people at the gas station attendants, all the people that you see working, even the people at a desk job when you come to the reception of any doctor's office. We're serving those people, and the reason is that everything's gone up. Pricing has gone up, and people need that extra support. And so it's not just about an empty cupboard. It's about getting everything to people that they need. And I mean, and I say everything, it's really just a helping hand. It's just the one thing that can put a smile on their face and make them have that sense of relief, so they're not stressed out too. So it kind of helps in that aspect too, because they're in trauma. They're dealing with trauma at that point. When you don't have food, it is trauma.
Maybe you'll talk to us a little bit about the senior stretch too, because you see a lot of seniors.
Yes, we do see a lot of seniors. We actually have a couple seniors that will come to the food bank, and they get a little extra, and they help serve the community. But we also work with a few ministries that are serving the seniors as well. I think it's important that we see that, because they are on fixed incomes, and their income doesn't change. They don't get a raise when everybody else gets a raise. They don't get what they need. And when I see the seniors, we do try to make sure we're meeting their needs. There's a few seniors that come in, and we chat, and they get to come. This is the only time they come out of their house.
Wow.
And so having them be there, and it's just a sense of community for them at this point. And, unfortunately, they have to wait outside at the Storehouse, but they do have the opportunity to sit and chat with each other and have those talks that kind of just bring them together and bring a little hope for them.
So today we're going to be talking about food, the community, and something really special that's happening here at the Storehouse here in Covington community. So I'm really glad you're here today, Stephanie, and what a pleasure and what a privilege to not only have you on the podcast, but to finally do an interview and really host you. And
Well, thank you.
yeah, you're welcome. So maybe you'll share a little bit about maybe how you became involved, and how maybe the Storehouse isn't just a place of, well, let me rephrase that. Let me talk about the people that come to the Storehouse, and how that you can take something that's scary and turn it into a place of dignity and hope.
I think
how that journey began.
Yeah. For me, the journey for me only started 2 years ago. Actually, today is my 2-year anniversary at the Storehouse.
Wow.
So
Happy
2 years ago,
anniversary.
I started as the executive director, but I've seen the Storehouse change over the years just because I've been part of volunteering. And what I see is that it used to be a box of food that we gave them. And there was a lot of change in what we saw needed, because that creates waste. And we do our best not to waste. And we are a wasteful country when it comes to food. And so what we've done is we've gone to a shopping model to give them opportunity to pick what they need. We have clients that come in that have dietary restrictions, or they have religious needs or cultural needs. And I mean, you have some people that come from different countries that show they don't know what jicama is. They've never had it, so they don't know what to do with it, right? So being able to give them that opportunity and give them that dignity is just amazing.
Maybe you can talk about that shopping model again, because, if a person doesn't have any familiarity with a food bank, if they've not volunteered or not been a customer themselves, then they might not know how maybe a shopping model gives dignity.
Yeah. So when they come in, there's shelves, and we have what we have available, and on those shelves, they can see what's available to them. So for instance, we have like rice, or we have soups or things like that. So some people will be able to go and then just pick which ones they want. And whether it's soup or peanut butter or tuna or whatever the case may be, they're able to say, yes, I can have this. And then we have our fresh vegetables. And again, people don't necessarily know, but they get to pick what they want versus me putting stuff in a box that they've never seen before. I remember when I got a can of rhubarb, and I didn't know what to do with it. I still don't know what to do with a can of rhubarb, just so we know, so we're clear. But a can of rhubarb, and you're like, okay, what do I do with this? And I remember that box was, because when you're making those boxes, you're just kind of pulling things down and putting them in a box. And my first box was a can of rhubarb, some gravy, some rice, potatoes, and a can of tuna. I was like, okay, what do I do with this? This gives them the opportunity to shop in a way like they're at a grocery store. And they're able to say, oh, look, I do need rice, or I do need tuna. Soup would be great for my son's lunch. All these things that happen when you're at a grocery store. So it gives you that opportunity. I mean, there's not the selection of the grocery store, but there's the opportunity to get what's available.
So maybe you can talk about the community a little bit and their community involvement. And you talked about conversation.
Yes.
That people come, and it might be the first time out of the house in maybe a week or more.
Yes.
You know, it's a sense of community.
It is a sense of community, but I think the community as a larger piece have come around the Storehouse. They have wrapped their arms around the Storehouse in a big way, not just for our clients, not just our clients doing that. I'm talking about the community, the different businesses, the different stores, the different businesses that see a heart for the Storehouse. And the city of Covington has just stepped up in ways that are unbelievable. We had our first auction and we had 19 sponsors. Like, wow, that is something that is unheard of for your first auction. And we were able to triple what our original goal was by having the community just go, yes, we are in. This is part of our heart. This is, when I say the heart of Covington, it does come to the Storehouse. We are part of the heart of Covington. And when you see businesses stepping it up like that, you can see this community really, really sees the need for showing love and showing hope. And I see a lot of our clients, they feel it. I mean, they're standing there talking, and every time I walk past them, they're like, thank you for being out in the community. They've seen me out in the community because I'm at every function I could possibly be at just to make sure.
You're everywhere in the city.
Yeah, to make sure that the city knows what is the Storehouse. What does the Storehouse do? How does it affect our community? And we're serving 10% of Covington right now. And the businesses see it. And so they have fully wrapped their arms around what we're doing. And it's just, I believe that it is the path of the Lord, honestly. It's just that it's so amazing.
What you're doing in the Storehouse with the community and with other faith organizations and many other communities across our area, and it's not just Covington, but actually a larger area, it's really vital because so many food banks have closed their doors. And I was going to ask this question in a later segment, but you really have a unique model for the Storehouse.
Yeah, we do. We are almost 100.
I'm going to ask you more about that.
Oh,
later.
yeah. We are almost 100% donation based. And we don't buy a lot of our stuff, and a lot of other food banks do. And we are almost 100% donation based. And having that shopping model, giving people dignity, is a huge part of it.
So you have obviously been connected to the Storehouse a lot longer than just your 2 years of directorship. So maybe you can kind of maybe walk us through a little bit about how you became involved and how you became impassioned for the Storehouse.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'll just start back with, I'm a single mom. I have been for 18 years, and I became a single homeless mom, and I needed a food bank. And it wasn't the Storehouse, the first one I went to, but I went to a different one, and I saw those boxes. I helped pack those boxes, and I remember thinking, wow, this is not efficient. But at the time, I just took what I needed. And then as my boys got older, I was going to Real Life Church, and I recognized the Storehouse, and they were giving out food, and I was like, whoa, I didn't know this existed. This is amazing. I started paying attention and talking to Meg and Kevin about it, and just trying to get involved where I could. And because that is a passion for me, to make sure people have what they need, because I know I always want to be the person I needed when I was at my worst.
Yeah.
And I needed that. And so I rallied around scouting and told them, hey, we're going to start doing our food drive for Covington, because we are in Covington. Let's start doing it for the Covington, the Storehouse. And the first food drive we did, my son were 5 and 6, and we did it every year after that. We helped pack backpack buddies. We came in and volunteered in the garden, because that garden gives us, last year I think it was like 6,000 or 7,000 pounds of food, fresh vegetables, farm to table.
Yeah.
And a lot of food banks don't have that. I visit them, and they don't have the fresh fruits and vegetables that we do.
Other communities are just actually starting to do that. And I can remember in the garden, not only planting stuff with children, school programs, because it was a community involvement. And it was actually part of Real Kids Learning because it was built around a garden, as a children's program. And so giving back to the community, taught it at a very early age. But there are other communities around that are actually beginning community gardens. But the one for the food bank and through Real Life Church has been very successful.
Yeah, 30 years.
30 years, thousands of pounds.
Yeah.
And I have to say, quite frankly, it's much more than that over 30 years.
Oh, 100%. John, the farmer John that's out there, he's
Yeah.
87 years old now. And
Yeah.
man, that guy can do a squat. If you can't do a squat all the way down, that guy can.
Man, so let's kind of dive right in and let's talk about how do we understand food insecurity, both in our community and really across the nation, across the globe. So maybe you'll walk us through that term, food insecurity.
Food insecurity is one of the things that I would say more people are dealing with than you think. It's the person sitting next to you on the bus. It's the person sitting next to you at church, in the doctor's office. It's the person that you're checking out at the grocery store. And that means not having healthy food. That means not having enough food. That means people that are on the street that don't have anything. So we serve all of those people, but I see this in our country. We waste more than we keep. And there's somebody told me recently, in America, we hide our food insecurity really well. And it shouldn't be hidden. We should be showing it out front so that people can recognize the needs for our people. And hiding it is something that I think has been the process through our country. And I think we need to show it. We need to let people see when a kid goes without food, they have behavior problems in school. They don't concentrate. When an adult goes without food, they're quick to anger. They don't do well at work either. Like when anybody doesn't have food, it affects your health. It affects your mental health. It helps your physical health. And food insecurity comes from the lack of having what you need. It's not just having an empty cupboard, because you can have stuff in your cupboard that doesn't really give you the vitamins and the nutrition that you need, because that is a big part of food insecurity. Because a lot of folks are going to the store, what's the cheapest thing? Ramen noodles, mac and cheese.
Right.
There is zero nutrition in those.
Value.
And we really got to figure a way to feed our kids and our families with nutrition to give them, be healthier. I mean, we have a health crisis in this country, and it is food insecurity.
Yeah, so I think a lot of people focus on the extremes, and we certainly have extremes here, even in our own community, where it seems affluent, just as you described. But it's really about everyday families, and so maybe you'll walk us through that.
Yeah, I see families all the time. There's a woman that came in several months back, almost a year, I guess now. Her husband passed away during their family vacation, and they didn't have life insurance, so she can't sell her house because her mortgage is cheaper than a rental, and she's got her children in school locally, and she has a job, but her income takes care of the needs of the house. It doesn't take care of the food part. So her basic needs aren't being met. And so I have a lot of your local people, your local workers coming in. We have a lot of folks coming in that never thought they'd be there. I mean, I have counseled and chatted with many people who are like, I'm scared and nervous and embarrassed to come. Don't be. We're here. I mean, we're called to help. We're called to serve people that are hungry. That's what Jesus did. So guess what? We're going to do that. And I've seen a lot of people come in, and I always tell them, I was there. I know what that feels like, but you're not the only one. The folks that are coming in right now are your working poor. They're the people that are working, blue collar and not blue collar jobs. When I say that, I really mean like I have some IT professionals that are coming in because they're not getting paid a livable wage in our state. And so not having a livable wage, they have to choose how do I eat, or do I pay my mortgage or my rent or my electric bill?
So you've seen a lot of change over time, just in your time at the Storehouse.
Absolutely.
And I want to say the shopping, like a grocery store, has been one of those changes that really the Storehouse has implemented. What other changes do you see down the road? What other ways do you think, not only might be surprising, but do you think we might need to adjust the way we look at food insecurity and providing for the community?
Gosh, I wish I had an answer for that one because adjusting, we don't know what's going to happen. I see,
COVID was one of
yeah,
those things that it happened and everybody pivoted, and it turned out the Storehouse was one of those, and food banks in general
we're a
was
big resource.
yeah, huge
Yeah,
resource. And it's only
yeah.
grown since that time. So,
Well, and I think we'll see some changes. I mean, I feel like anytime we have that pendulum, right, that goes both ways, and we don't know exactly what's going to happen. All we know is that we need to be prepared to be um, flexible. And one of the things I'll tell you is the Storehouse we are at capacity in our size right now. I would love to be able to do more for our community and wrap around people a little bit differently. And I think what needs to happen is our community needs to come together and help people when they're in trauma. And we are currently partnered with a few people that do community outreach with mental health. But I think, just a budget. People, when you're in trauma, you can't budget. You look at today, right? So those are the things that I feel like we're not seeing happen right now, but I think it's a down the road thing.
right.
And because I know how to budget, but when I was going through it, I didn't know what my bank account looked like because I couldn't look at it because I knew it was trauma to look at it.
Yeah. There's a lot of trauma with food
Yes.
insecurity.
Yes.
It is traumatizing. I wanted to say that what stories stick with you when you go from, statistics to faces? What stories kind of stick with you in this?
Yeah,
I see an 8-year-old with food insecurity.
Yeah.
When I see homelessness and I see, food insecurities, I see children.
Yeah.
Elementary age.
So children are one that always sticks with me, and it makes me very teary-eyed. I was in a place as a child without food, and I was a place with my children, and I made sure they had food. And so when I see children, I was trying to make sure we help them out the best we can. And when I know it's somebody's birthday, things like that, we try to give them a birthday cake type stuff, things like that. But I think the stories that stick to me the most is seeing the moms or dads that are single parents, and they're coming in there at the best they can. We have created a space for people to where they can come after work on a Monday or on a Saturday, and not a lot of food banks have done that. And so we've done that to where families that are working can be in a place that they can come get what they need. And seeing it, you're talking about children, but I also look at, my grandmother. I can't imagine her not having food. Like, I can't imagine what resources she especially would never have been able to go on the internet to see what could I do, right? So being able to communicate with the senior centers around here, the senior living communities around here, letting them know, hey, we're here for you, has been a huge part of what I've done in the last 2 years. I've met with them. I've gone there and told them what's going on. And it's been amazing to see the seniors coming in.
Senior budgets are tight,
Yeah.
and it's still often a choice between medication and food.
Yes. And we've had plenty of seniors come in and ask questions like, hey, do you have medication resources? I don't. So I try to give them the resources I do have.
Yeah.
But, I can give you food. I can help you with that. Let me know what else you need. And we have, we get some stuff like medical supplies that are like, the insured drinks, things of like that kind of level, not to the level of like prescriptions, but stuff to help them give a little bit more protein in their body to help them, because I know they're not eating the whole week. That's not happening.
So let's go back to the original story of the Storehouse. How did it begin? How does the story begin for the Storehouse? And really it was unique
Yes.
to our area. And I think at the time, maybe when it began, people were like, well, do we really need something like that here?
That's exactly what it was. People were like, we don't need a food bank. We don't need that. But, it talks about Malachi, bring your goods to the Storehouse, and that is where you had resources. And so when Meg started it, she saw a need. She saw families that needed food, and she was really passionate. Her passion blows me away, but she was very passionate about, no, we need this. This needs to be in our community. And so when she started it, she wanted to make sure there was no barriers. So that's why they did delivery. She wanted to make sure there was dignity behind it. That's why they did delivery. And, the one thing I loved about the Storehouse is that they've made adjustments. They've come to where people are. They've recognized when something needs to be adjusted to be better for the community, and I love that about the Storehouse. But we became our own 501(c) in 2001, and we have been doing business in the sense of donations and taking care of people since 1999.
So you're a regular food bank too. So
Yes.
I guess this kind of leads into my next question. What makes you unique? Because you are a 501(c)(3, you are a food bank, but you're just slightly different as well. There's something different about the Storehouse.
Well, there's a couple things different about the Storehouse. I will tell you, right now we have 3 employees and hundreds of volunteers.
Wow.
100 regulars, and then we have several that just come in here and there.
You have one of the best volunteer bases I've ever
Yes.
seen, and they are so, pardon the pun, so hungry to serve.
Yes, they are. It is their heart. We say love until you ask why. Let me tell you, the reason why we say that is because we get our love from Jesus. I mean, he gives it to us, and then when they ask us why, we can tell them because of the love of the Lord. And these folks lead by their heart. They love being there, and we accept everybody as they are. And I can't tell you, we have people in our community. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, this is it right
That's
here.
it right there. And last year we did 1.4 million pounds of food out
Wow.
of this little small building right here. And we'll talk about the building a little bit, but this is one of the things, like if you see this place, it is packed to the gills. But we have volunteers in here that just don't stop. They keep going. And I have people that want to give back, and that we're different because we do have the love of the Lord. We do have the fact that we know this is God's work. This is not our work. This is God's work. This is God's doing.
Wow. Maybe you'll talk a little bit more about what we're seeing here in this picture.
Yeah, so you'll see the truck. It looks like it just got unloaded in this picture, but you'll see this is over here. You'll see all the stuff that we had to pull out.
You have a couple of vehicles too.
Yeah, with just one.
Okay.
So we had to pull all of these things out and this out of the Storehouse to get these bags ready for our home delivery. But this is how we have to do every time we do distribution. So right now they have rain-proof things on it because it's raining. This picture is raining, as you can tell.
It is Washington State.
It's Washington, right? So you can see most of our work is done outside, and you can see this is the bags. We're delivering home delivery about 110 bags a week on average. So about 110 bags a week go out to communities. This is for folks that can't get into the Storehouse. They can't get there physically, whatever reason. We honor their dietary restrictions as they needed, whether it's diabetes or halal or vegetarian or gluten-free.
So you just serve a diverse community
Yes.
as well. How many languages in the Kent School District?
I think it's like 160 or 80 or something like that.
Yeah,
It's a
different
ton.
languages and cultures.
And we see it. We see it here at the Storehouse, and we thank goodness for Google Translate because communicating with some of these folks, it's been letting them know what's going on, especially their first time. But here you'll see over here, they're gleaning. So when I say gleaning, we do grocery rescue. And they go through the groceries and make sure they take all the bad stuff out and get rid of it. And that's what the stuff that we give to like pig farmers. Again, no waste. And they repackage the big things from Costco into smaller items like lettuces and things of that sort. And they do this out in the rain, the snow, the heat, whatever. They're doing it out there. So this leads us to needing a building.
You guys need a building in the worst
Yes.
ways because, you have resource, which is, tremendous, which is rare to say. But storage, storing cool things, and just storing dry goods, man, that is a problem. I wanted to ask you, maybe you'll share a story about how you met the need of diversity. Maybe you'll talk about maybe the Muslim community or the Ukraine community, how you navigate that and the language challenges as well. Because that's not something that every Storehouse navigates, but you guys do it every week.
We have so many different languages spoken, and so we use Google Translate a lot. And I think just understanding that we need halal food for our Muslim community, we need that. We actually just applied for a grant for halal specifically, or cultural relative foods, because we do have a lot of different cultures. The Russian Ukraine community, they've never seen a jicama, and we talked about it. So we put recipes out there and tell them what to do with it.
Just don't have them in the Ukraine.
They don't have them in the Ukraine, and so we talked about it, and it's an interesting conversation. And when they try it, because we try to put the recipe, when they came out, we're like, oh, here's a couple of recipes, and give them some information. And I'll tell you, one of the ladies came back and goes, wow, that is so good. So we try to navigate the best way we can to give them, experiences, So that's what we're doing.
Wow. So this doesn't happen in isolation. All of these programs, all of the things that you do for the community, I mean, it takes partnership.
100%.
It takes churches, businesses, other faith-based organizations, and really just a lot of resource. And so maybe you'll share a little bit about the collaboration that you have with a very large community.
Yes, we have several Heartwork Squad members, and those are the folks that come in and they jump in every chance they get. And those are businesses that have decided to donate a larger sum of money to us and help. Then we help advertise their information everywhere.
Maybe you want to talk about some of that partnership in detail.
So like Tamara Paul Group, she's quite amazing. She shows up to big distribution days where we have our sorting days. She shows up when we had our open house. She shows up in ways that a lot of people don't. Krista Bates from Mary Kay, same thing. She does the same kind of thing. We also have the Rotary Club in Covington, of course. They show up. Man, those folks show up even in the rain. They show up whenever we need something.
Rain or shine.
Rain or shine, yes. And then we have Game Shelf. They came in and gave us some money, and they are more of the people that they want kind of sit in the background and they give us money. There are some of those people, and I appreciate those people too. And then Dahlia Nails. And so Dahlia Nails gave us $1 for every receipt during theirs.
Maybe you want to talk about some civic partnership too, because you received help from different communities and cities and city leaders.
So the city of Covington has given us a grant for many years in a row, and we just applied for the next one. So that we're hoping that they do. I'm sure, based on the fact that we're serving 10% of the community, I have full belief that and faith that they're going to give it to us. But man, Reagan Dunn came through for us so big, and I'm going to tell you, I'm going to bring the building up. We told him we needed a building. He came and did a tour with us. He's given us money over the years for food, but this time he gave us money to take care of our building. He gave us $200,000 to put towards our building. So we just hired an architect. We just started doing our survey. We started our capital campaign to build a building, and the church has given us land. They're giving us a land lease so that we can build it on their land. That way we have a space that is big enough where my volunteers aren't outside, and we don't have to pull everything outside. And when we get those extra things, we don't have to give them out right away because we don't have the space to hold them. We can actually let these things last and give people enough food for longer. And this is the start of wrapping around our clients and having a space that we can have a regular, mental health counselor, on site during our distribution, or we can have a class about things that need to be taken care of for finances. But being able to wrap around our clients in a way to get them out of the line, I mean, that's the goal.
I think sometimes when you look at, a food bank or storehouse or community service, we don't think that we have partnership maybe in city government or with other community or civic leaders, but really the opposite is true.
Yeah. I think our especially down here in our area, we have some great civic leaders that are loving what we're doing. They're very proud of what the Storehouse is doing. And they see the impact we have on the community and on the children of our community. And it's a huge thing. And that doesn't happen by us being quiet. That happens with us coming on podcasts or being at events and talking.
Make some noise, get noisy, and share the need.
Yep.
So I'm going to kind of switch gears now.
Okay.
I'm going to grab second gear and really talk about maybe the faith aspects of, the Storehouse and its community, because even in the terminology, it has a biblical terminology.
Yeah.
So there's more that's going on, and maybe you'll speak to that.
Yeah.
What's meaningful in a faith way? How does this increase your faith as you see people come in the need for food?
Oh, makes me cry because as someone who's been there, I would say I'm going to be the person I needed. I know there was times where I just got on my knees and prayed that I had enough food, and places like the Storehouse exist to help. And being able to give back to someone who is in that same stage and pray with people in my parking lot and talk to them and give them some hope has been the biggest joy of my life. Honestly, I love going to work because I get to give back through the hands of the Lord, and I see the impact immediately. I see the smile on the face. I see the person who, probably wouldn't have asked for prayer, asking for prayer now, who hadn't asked for prayer before, is now getting prayer that they didn't know that they needed. And that impact is huge. And, we say love until they ask why, because, Jesus gave us the love to love, right? But also the Storehouse comes from Malachi, and bring your goods, and that's where the resources are, at the Storehouse. It says bring your goods to the Storehouse.
Wow.
And that is not something we can overlook as we go down this journey. And I know that I am there because the Lord put me there. I know that the Storehouse is there because giving back, we are called to feed the poor. We are called by God to feed the poor. That's what we do. Jesus did it. We have to do it. And we're the hands of it, is what we are. We're the hands to help support the people.
Malachi and then Matthew 25. Yeah, Jesus says, I was hungry and you gave me something to eat.
Yeah.
I want to say that is beautiful. And the Storehouse, from the wealth of God and from the wealth of the community.
And it's so impactful to people. And this all makes me cry because I love it so much. It's so impactful to people to see. I see God's hands every day in that parking lot, in that Storehouse. And I see my volunteers coming up and wanting to do this. This is their heart for the Lord. This is something that you're not seeing in other food banks. You're not seeing. I mean, we're one of the only faith-based food banks that in the area, and we're serving 10% of Covington. It's just amazing.
So amazing to see the hand of God in the community. And sometimes people ask the question, well, where is God?
Yeah.
Is he absent? But you see miracles every single day.
I am so blessed with that, for sure.
Yeah. Maybe you'll describe one for us.
Well, I can tell you a couple of days ago, there was a gentleman that has been coming in for a while, and he has done work in local churches, and he was one of the kids. I talked to him and his kids, and he said he was embarrassed to come, and I invited him to come back to the Storehouse. I invited him to be part of it and just be there, and then just kind of be part of what's going on. And I see him now. He comes to me and says, thank you. This gave me a space to be able to not be so stressed about having food for my kids, but to where I can go find the job I need. And I did. And I said, and you praying with me and you give me that support has been so impactful. So that's a miracle right there. Just a man that was broken with his two kids and not able to figure out how to, he did not have his faith in order. I mean, he believed in God, but he was not faith at that point. It was shut off because he was in trauma. And just seeing him open back up to the Lord, open back up to where he could give that space to get a job and get to the part where he needed, because he said, I was so shut down that this opened me back up to where I could see what I needed to see. That right there is a miracle.
Wow. So really, it's so much more than food.
Oh, yeah.
There's a spiritual component to it too. People need more than just the physical food. They need spiritual stuff too. And you guys don't openly proselytize or,
No.
Just as people come and they talk about it and they wonder why you're there. And I would say that's another amazing thing.
I think walking the walk of the Lord is what we're called to do.
Yeah.
And when people stop and ask why, you tell them.
So I'm going to ask you to elaborate on this, because this is so beautiful. And it's been one of the mottos of the Storehouse for a long time. love until they ask why, and maybe you'll elaborate on that a little more.
Yeah, and it talks about in the Bible that we are given love so that we can love, and that talks about how Jesus loves us. And so we love until they ask us why. So when they ask us why do we do this, we are able to talk about how Jesus' love has made us do this, to give them the opportunity to eat, and we talk about Malachi, we talk about Matthew 25, and we talk about those things, and how when God says to us to love, that he's giving us love so that we can love back. I mean, that's just all of it. That's everything.
Yeah.
And I live in the spirit of love. I believe that, I've known that my whole life, that even when I was at my most broken part, still having love in my heart, I knew that God would supply, and he did. So, but that love is not from me. That is from God. That is from me having the opportunity to know the Lord and bring that into the world. And I get to do that every day, and it's just amazing.
So I'm going to ask you kind of a tough question. We talked
Okay.
about this before, even before we began.
Yeah.
And that is, how do you balance the tension? How do you balance the tension of helping people and in a way that provides dignity and not dependency? How do you?
That's a tough one, and we talked about this a little bit. I think it's really tough to balance that. But I know I am walking with my hands open because the Lord has given me that opportunity to do so. The Storehouse is walking with their hands open, and that's where that walk comes in, right? I keep giving, and I will pray for the people that come through. That's all I can do. Pray for the people that come through, and if the dependency is there, I know the Lord will give them the opportunity, and they have to, be willing to take it. And so just keep praying for them and making sure that they know they're being prayed for. I tell them all the time, I'm praying for you today. I'm making sure that we're being prayed for.
Wow.
And that is something that, that prayer doesn't cost anything at all to anybody. And I'll tell you, I use it all the time. If I had to pay for it, I would be so poor.
Wow.
All day long.
Wow. I'm broke for prayer.
Yes.
Amen. So that's incredible. So incredible, the work that you do. And that's a tough balance. And sometimes when there's food insecurity or food scarcity, or somebody's had the worst, not just luck, but they're in the worst situation of their lives, they've got to lean in.
Yeah.
And they're going to need a place where maybe they've fallen down and they're going to need to be picked back up again.
Yes.
And that's a tough, tough balance that you guys navigate
Yes.
pretty much every time you serve.
Yes. And,
Wow.
all we can do is, when people ask for something, we try to give it to them.
So we're going to go maybe to some stories of transformation, things that you've seen. And so maybe you'll share with us a powerful story of transformation that, it can be recent or historic for the Storehouse, but something that really transformed a person's life or maybe a group of people.
I'm going to do the bigger whole, right? Because
Okay.
we, when I started, I saw us pulling everything out. And so 2 years ago, I saw us pulling everything out. We're serving about 33, probably closer to, about 33, 40% more people than when I started. And that's a huge number. And so we're pulling all this stuff out to serve people. Our lines are getting longer. And I've seen where I have more volunteers coming in. I have more people in the community coming in to help. And that transformation right there is huge because I listen to other food banks. They're having a hard time getting volunteers.
Yeah.
We have to turn our volunteer list off sometimes. And
Yeah.
that is because I think the way we do things with our heart, that transformation for people, we're impacting people every day that we're there. And I think the fact is that building, that little itty bitty building, put out 1.4 million pounds of food last year. It's
just 1
that
year.
that is 1 year. It's 1,400 square feet that we're
Yeah.
doing this in, and that's 1 year. And you look at how much that cost. I can't do math, but I think 1.4 million times. I think the national average rate is like $2.80. I think for food, $2.80 per pound. That's millions of dollars worth of donations have come into that building, and have given us opportunity to serve people. And that comes from not just the grocery stores, because we do grocery rescue, But the amount of food banks or food drives that we've had into the food bank this year, last year for the holidays, we had 50.
Yeah.
And so far this year, we've had, I think, 6, 7. And all of those are bringing in a lot of food. Now, we always get a ton during the holidays.
Yeah.
So I invite people to do them during the spring and summer because we need them. We need them all year. And listening to other food banks, they have food bank or food drives every single month. And so we need food drives. And food drives could be in front of a grocery store, at your business, wherever you want to do it. But we are, that impact that we're talking about is the bigger whole. And I've seen people get enough to survive the week and get enough to be able to provide for their families. And I see the happiness and the joy on people's face, less stress. The line is not as stressful as it used to be.
Wow.
And that's huge.
So it does border on the miraculous. And I think, when people talk about miracles, they expect, angels and angel choir, the full-blown stuff. But this is a miracle that happens every single week. The days that you're open, it really does border on the miraculous, and it's millions of dollars. And not everyone who contributes or is a partner is necessarily a faith-based organization. In
Absolutely.
fact, most are not.
Yeah. We have a lot of folks that come by that have never been to church, and that's
Wow.
okay. We are, sometimes you're given a gift, and it's the door is opening for them too.
Yeah.
And so we will take anybody that wants to provide support for the Storehouse because it takes the whole village.
So what's a reminder for you in this, why you stay with it, things that you see that maybe we don't? What is the thing that has impacted you that makes you go, you know what, this is where I need to be, this is what I need to do?
Well, as a mom who went without food herself, I don't want to see that. And so that's one thing. But I know I have been blessed beyond words because I get to do this every day.
Yeah.
And I just feel, I feel the Holy Spirit when I walk in that building. I feel the Holy Spirit when I drive onto that property and I see what people are doing. I feel all of the love there. And so when I see these clients come up and they, hi Stephanie, they smile at me, and even in other languages, they give me hugs and they bring me, I love Turkish coffee, by the way.
Yeah, me too.
But bringing
Baked
me different little goodies from different countries and all the things that come in, and I don't need a goodie, I just need a smile, right?
Yeah.
But just the fact that they thought about me and I have a lot of my clients bring stuff to our volunteers because they're saying thank you. This is how they say thank you.
Wow. How has this work changed you personally?
Oh gosh, I think I knew food insecurity from my own standpoint, but you don't really know food insecurity until you work in it. You think you do, and then you work in it and you see the impact. You see how it affects people, because when it's yourself, it's different. But when you see a senior or a child, or somebody else dealing with it, and how many people are dealing with it.
So a lot of people come in and they volunteer, which it's amazing the volunteers that you have. And after COVID, volunteerism just kind of died, really, just across the country and here too. But I think a lot of people, when they come in and they volunteer, they feel like they're the ones giving, but not really. A lot of people that volunteer there, they are receiving something too, and maybe you'll talk a little bit about that, the things that they receive.
Yeah, I will tell you, our volunteers, that they're receiving the gift of giving, right? They get to receive that, but it's not about giving to them sometimes. I have volunteers that come in, and this is their community. They come in so they can be with the people around them because they're not leaving the house either, except for on the volunteer days. And so they're getting to see what we're doing, but also they're receiving. I mean, I've prayed with most every single volunteer that comes in there, but they receive that love until they ask why. They receive that too. Yeah. So they're receiving that in a way that they've never expected. So then they come in and they're coming, I'm just going to give it. We're going to be able to give food. It's going to feel great. And then they get that love. And I think that is why our volunteers stay. That is why our volunteers stay, I believe.
So, for someone who's listening right now, what can they do? What's their call of action? What can they do to become part of this, or maybe part of something in a local community? Because not all of our listeners are from here. They may be across the Northwest or from other parts of the country or world, and so.
Well, I'll tell you this. Go to our Facebook, share it. Go to our Instagram, share it, and be part of the bigger social media outreach. But I want you to know that donations, financial donations, are a huge impact because we do need a building. I don't have the full number yet, but I think we need to raise about $4 million or so for our building. So be a major donor. Or there's other things that are coming up. September 12th, we're having our second auction. So a gala, and it's going to be September 12th. And be a sponsor. Come and join and be part of that. That's all going to go to our Building of Hope, and we're going to put that building up for folks. And or come volunteer. Come see what it's like to love until they ask why. Come see that.
Wow.
Because our volunteer, we need especially we need volunteers on Saturday. We have a lot of volunteers that show up on Saturday, but it's always different volunteer. Each week I need a more steady stream of volunteers, but you can always volunteer. Right now it's open, so just go to our website, but just follow us and see what we're doing, and see how we are impacting the community through our social media, but also just by coming and taking a tour. I'm happy to come in and give a tour to anybody that wants to have a tour, and it'll just cost you. No, I'm joking. Just come do a tour and understand what we're doing, and and give with your heart, because this is what we're called to do.
Wow, that's amazing. What is your biggest need? What is the biggest need that you would need today?
Today, man, we are, like I said, we just launched a building campaign, and that's great. But I think in the Storehouse, I would like to set up more food drives coming up, and just be more like monthly food drives. I would love that to be something that goes on through our community. But having a monthly donation from yourself, from anybody, we are supporting over 250 backpack buddies. $1 a day takes care of a kid for a year.
Wow.
So those are simple numbers, right?
Backpack Buddies is an amazing program for the school district.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So those are some of our major needs right now, and of course, anybody that wants to give me $4 million, I'll take it.
Wow. Maybe we can close out with maybe some pictures that we have, and just people volunteering, and maybe you'll walk us through
Yeah,
that.
sure. Well, that's me.
That's you. Welcome.
Yeah, our volunteers they do all kinds of things. From that truck there gets unloaded, but here you can see this is gleaning on the bottom picture. They're going through the groceries and see the lettuce is being rebagged. And what happens is Costco gives a big, huge bag of lettuce, and they just take each head out and just put them in separate bags. Up top is our home delivery program that we're doing. And right now we're doing about 110 a week.
Wow.
And so those are boxes being packed. We're now moved to bags now. So that's kind of what's going on there. And the three people in that top picture right there have all been volunteers for multiple years, I think all of them more than 10. This is some of our youth. We have Interact, Rotaract, and this is the Interact group packing backpack buddies.
I recognize some of those faces.
They're packing backpack buddies for us. The Interact and Rotaract kids are part of the Rotary, and the Rotary youth programs have been so impactful to the Storehouse, and I love that they keep giving back. And then down here, you'll see some of the fresh produce we get. We get so much fresh produce. It is astonishing. Looking at other food banks, we are so blessed to have what we have. We partner with so many farms in our area that just come in, like, here's fresh fruits and vegetables, and people can grow in their own yard. You can grow a row for the Storehouse. Go for it. We'll love it. And this is just clients going through. They're probably going into our shopping model to get everything that they need. And what we've done, we have to weigh everything in, weigh everything out, and then we do that so we can kind of have accountability for what's coming in. It's pretty great.
I love the shopping carts, and I love
Yeah.
that it is such a low-stress environment.
Really is.
As people come and they're relaxed, they shop. There's things for children to do there as well. which they don't feel like they're put out. And maybe you'll talk to some of that too.
Oh goodness. Some of our volunteers that check people in, they give them, beware, they give you your kids popsicles and lollipops and things like
Yeah.
that. We try to make sure that when they come in, there is no stress. It's very easy for them to understand. When they come in for the first time, we guide them through what they need to do, and then they become old hats at it.
This is such a picture, Stephanie, of not only the generosity of the Storehouse, but an entire community.
Yeah.
And again, I want to thank you for all that you do, not only on behalf of the Storehouse, but on behalf of Christ. It is amazing. And it's funny because I think a lot of times when we talk about these things, it's easy for us to look like we're at the forefront of it, but there's so
no.
many people in your organization. Maybe you want to talk about that as
Oh
we
yeah,
close out.
we have our board that is quite amazing. They make sure we're doing what we need to be doing. They, keeping, as we're getting to be a bigger organization, they're making sure we're keeping in alignment with what needs to happen. We have our volunteers and our community. Like, this is not me that's doing it. I just get to drive the bus, right? I get to see what people are doing. I get to witness it, and that's so huge. But the volunteers, I cannot say enough about our volunteers. Like, there is people that are there 40 hours, and I appreciate that. And there's people there that are there for 2 hours, and I appreciate that. I don't, and some people are doing things online, just data entry for us. So whatever can be given back, we'll appreciate. We just love that you're a piece of our puzzle.
Stephanie, you have been an incredible guest.
Thank you.
And the work that the Storehouse does, what a privilege. And we're honored to have you in our community. It is truly one of the greatest resources that we have to help people that are in need. And you've been the first recipient of the merch of the mug. Man. And so
thank you.
such a pleasure to work with you in this community. And if you've liked this kind of content and really what is happening, not just in the Northwest, but it's happening in a lot of places, but stories like this that really impact people,
Yeah.
that you engage with our community every single day,
Yeah.
both at the top end and at those who really need help. And so I want to thank you again.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just want to say, we've had so many volunteers that come through, even scouting, all of them, every single one of them. I just want to keep saying thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yeah. I want to thank you for joining us here on our podcast today. Stephanie Lawson, Executive Director of the Storehouse right here in Covington, a wonderful, wonderful organization that meets people's needs. And if you like this content, like, share, and subscribe. Smash that like button. And it's been a pleasure having you as an audience today. God bless, and God bless you, Stephanie.
Thank you. You too.